Good evening, guys. Ken at Tortoise Capital, Nightly Strategy Podcast, February 15th, 2023. We'll start with the swing trade portfolio. Today featured a broad gap down at the opening, and so we had to recover from some overnight risk. That is the natural consequence of swing trading, and I want to show how we can account for that or work with that with a combination of intraday trades, the core and turbo approach. We'll start with Alco. I'm sorry, these should be on 30 minutes. That's why it looks funny. Sorry about that. There we go. All right, so Alcoa, and we're all on. This is all on 30-minute charts, and we had that nice trade, a 2R loss, and then today, um, that it closed well yesterday, and then gap down. So we take that 2R loss, 1 2. Intraday we get a turbo opportunity using smaller risk. We could have exited up in here to make this a wash, but I like the way it closed and the way the market closed, and I'm expecting some more to the upside. So we will keep that position open and just eat the 2R loss from the open. In Cliff Natural Resources, so yesterday featured that gap down loss, and then yesterday after this reversal, we took the PSAR flip and the SSC entry. We only needed to have that much of a risk box, and today this thing has closed well, and so we're about 2R in hand, and and it closed pretty well. And if it can get above 2070, which is above the 5-day high, then Cliff is going to look pretty good. So this whole sell-off in here is looking like a shakeout. In CVS, yesterday we cashed that multi-day long. It was just grinding, so we took the gain for about plus zero point 0.5 and then stopped and reversed yesterday. And today that closed, or it opened well and then started grinding back against us. So we just took that exit right here at the PSAR flip. And there's our risk. And so that's about +1. And now we're flat in CVS. Still stalking it. Looks like an orderly trader. Devon Energy was problematic. This was about a 10% gap down. And so, although we were holding about 3R in hand, it blew right through all of this and opened here. So we just ate that one, and that was about a 1 2 3R loss. And then when you see a move like that, that thing is in play. And so we used an intraday turbo entry and essentially got short here. And then that turned into a 1 2 3 4 5 6R intraday gain. So this +6 offsets that -3, and the size of the gap just alerts you to special conditions, which tells you this thing is in play. So that is not a surprising move. So that worked out all right in the end. In Electronic Arts, this was one of those stealthy Godzillas, and yesterday we cashed that one for a micro gain. I'm sorry, that's 2 days ago. And then we watched it close pretty well, and we were still interested in it. And today it made the SSC PSAR flip, and so we're into that one with a nice move. I'm sorry, it closed up in here, so it's testing that that RL10, and so we've got about +2 on that one with every chance of it going higher tomorrow. The Godzilla is starting to awaken, and what I'm looking for is this gain right here to take out the high of the RL10, and then that should really go. So I'm liking that one for tomorrow. In emerging markets, why do I have 2 on this thing? That's odd. All right, so in emerging markets, this was one that punished us for that overnight hold. We got into that one at the close of the day, looking for this risk box and a COTA 2 entry, and it blew down here for a -2R. It held just fine and closed well, and so that shows some promise for tomorrow, but we just ate the 2R and just chalked it up to experience. Um, this is Mexico, and we closed about a half an hour win here on the short side. We took the COTA 2 entry here 2 days ago, and a little bit of white knuckling it here, but it closed pretty well and at the high of the day. So that's what we're holding right now, and that's about +2. And that feels pretty good because it's already above this RL10, and I think is well postured going forward. Brazil, just stalking. This is interesting for tomorrow in that it is testing these highs. If it can get above today's high, I will be interested, and we'll start that one as an intraday 3-minute chart. International paper, we cashed this nice 2 position short here, and that was a stop and reverse on the SSC and the PSAR flip, and this thing has closed pretty well. And again, we're holding about +2, and that one feels all right. Real estate, we're just stalking. The last trade on this one was a scratch. There was a COTA 2 opportunity in here, but I think we had better things going on. So this is just under our watchful eye. No position on it yet. McDonald's, we're holding this this COTA 2 entry, and we're right here for now, and we're holding about +1. It has to get above the 5-day high to be useful. Marijuana, we took this one near the close yesterday. On the COTA 2 entry with the standard risk, and this one worked well in our favor. It got above the 5-day high and closed up here around 7. That has been an important resistance level, and so if it can get through there, I have high hopes for that one. I will not let it fall below 689, so I'll give it that much room, which would lock in about 2R. So I'm giving it 1R to work with. I would be interested in adding another position here tomorrow if it breaks above the psychological level of 7. Clean energy is next. Oops, I'm sorry, that was Treasury. So clean energy. This one was on a rocket today. So we cashed this nice short, then took the SSC and caught a 2 entry here. Today added a second position when it moved up through and above the RL10, and then it was just moving and took a third position, and I'm going to have my stop like right under this shelf at 46. So we've got 3 in hand, 3 positions on this one with about 3R on the first one, 1R on the second one. So we're holding about 4R and have 3 positions. And because it cleared above this price level, I was willing to hold it and let it go. So I'm invested in that one. Treasuries took a 1 day, the 1 day caught a 2 to the downside. There's lower highs and almost a collapsing dragon, and just cashed that one for +1. Needed to offset some of those gap losers today. So Treasuries gave us one. Thanks, Treasuries. We took a second position in Tesla today here. This was the entry 2 days ago on the PSAR flip, standard risk box. Yesterday was strong. Today continued it. So we're 2 positions in. Got the R10 wiggle in our favor. That could really go. It's above 212, and that's crucial. So I'm going to get our stop up into here tomorrow and lock in that much on the first position. So that one's pretty good shape. And finally, U.S. Steel. All the metals closed well today. Yesterday we put our second position in. This is still working nicely. I'm now ready to move my stop up to no lose plus dinner for 2 on the second position, right about 29.30. And if it gets above 30.25, I'd be looking at adding a third position intraday with the intention that it could come up and test 31.25. And if it gets above that, it is free and clear and long gone. So I'm liking all the metals and their moves today. So that's the portfolio swing update. Sniper trades of the day. So this was Devon Energy. Now, this was the tail end of that swing trade that gapped down and lost us 3R. All right. And this became the OR3, and that was the standard risk box on the short. And then you can see we picked up just with the turbo position plus 3R. And now I feel like I've handled the initial bad start that came from that overnight gap. I like when I'm able to get back to break even intraday like that. So now I play this is an SSC entry, standard intraday risk. Quick scratch, stop and reverse, because the harsh sell-off makes it easy to believe that this thing is suffering. Micro gain, caught a 2 re-entry, second position. That second position scratches, but we make about 3R on that trade sequence. That's a stop and reverse, which gives us about another 3R. Caught a 2 re-entry, another couple R. So Devon Energy was in play all day, and that's we talk in here all the time about find the mover. When there's a 10% overnight gap down, it's in play, it's moving, and that's a good target for the whole day. A couple other ones of interest, just because today was a pretty wild day. This is the turbo on PBWs. So you saw that we had the swing position in, and then I was just noticing this thing was not failing at all. As I said, well, this could be a chance for a turbo position. There's the COTA 2 entry and a couple R to start funding the swing position that I wanted to add. COTA 2 re-entry, second position. That's about 4R. And then those 2 trades there generate about 6R intraday, and that gives me the risk capital to fund the 2 additional swing positions that I elected to hold overnight. So if you remember back from the original swing session, let's see where we're at here. Yep. 30-minute. Devon Energy. Yeah. So the Devon Energy helped us with the to help fund the PBW trade. These extra positions in here are the what I meant to show was PBW. Sorry, these 2 positions got funded by the 6R on the intraday turbo allows me to raise the capital. When I take off the intraday position, it allows me to keep 20%. And now both of these additions, which I'm holding overnight, were funded by the intraday money. So that's an example of core and turbo trading. Yeah, that's what I meant to say. It was PBW. So that 6R funded the overnight holds by keeping 20%. And then finally, I did not get this trade, but I just wanted to show you about finding the movers. Coinbase was just out of its mind today with goodness. And it wasn't even a gap. So here was where it closed. Then it opened here and gives you an OR3 right here. Standard risk. About 3R, then a COTA 2 immediately. Quick scratch, quick reentry, and another 3 or 4R. Coinbase was up 17% today, and it led all of the cryptos higher, which all had a really strong response today. And it feels to me like we've turned the corner in the crypto meltdown narrative. This actually just feels like there's folks that have gotten over the psychic shock of the FTX scandal, and now crypto longer term is back in play. So that's what it's feeling like to me. Mike M asked me about the 3 SMA. I don't need to use it on this simplified sniper that I'm using because my wrist boxes are small. On the more complete tactical screen, I typically keep that on there. But what I'm doing is trying to reduce to the absolute minimum. I would suggest that the 3 SMA on the 10 is not bad. But if you play it as tightly as I do, you end up being able to see that pretty easily. So it's just less cognitive load and more snap judgments. I basically have like a mental timer in my head to get out of positions, which is what the 3 SMA actually does to help you. Let's see. So let's go to the traders now. See how the boys did. All right, this was actually from yesterday. Nolan asked me a question, and that was he was looking at he was trying to stay out of the chop, which happens when you get a gap and then the Z3 lines compress, and then you get the Z3 compression, and then he sees a COTA 2 possibility here with the Bollinger Band lines starting to open up. So instead of pinching, they're now starting to expand. Yes, that means you're starting to get some range expansion. Like it was this extra move down that causes this to start opening. Whereas if it was going to pinch, you would have seen it stay inside this tight channel. But the fact that it's starting to move is the first sign that this Z3 pinch, which compresses at the most to here, and now that makes this COTA 2 to the downside available. It's also a collapsing dragon off of this, in the same way that there's another collapsing dragon off of that. But yes, you can take that one because the Z3 lines are starting to expand, and that's a good eye. So that was a technical question he asked me. So today Woj gets an initial move here in Devon. He misses the re-entry, which paid off nicely. Takes a quick loss, and this is where that range compression is happening. And then now you see again where this is starting to expand. That's where that COTA 2 to the downside could really pay off. And then here is your SSC to the upside. So there was a lot more available in Devon after that horrendous sell-off. And that was the reason I was ready to trade Devon, is because that 10% sell-off means that that thing is in play. And so nice moves like this are not surprising. He gets a fractional gain here in Tesla, gets a nice COTA 2 entry here in U.S. Steel and crushes that one. Maybe gives back a little more than I like, but it's just on one entry. But he brings in 2.4. Sums up to -1 here in NVIDIA. He missed the OR3 and CD, but he nets 1.8 for those symbols. Now, this is Gary. Let me zoom in a little bit here. And by design, Gary's been working just on the K2, but I asked him also to notice the other patterns so that he gets the idea of identify the pattern but don't trade it, so that you can start building up that self-control muscle. So this was a COTA 2 to the downside. It reversed quickly. Yeah, and he identifies the SSC. If you take that one, you end up not losing anything. This one looks like a long and then a quick scratch. This is the SFC. Now I want you to notice that this actually is looking like a COTA 2 to the downside. Yes, there's a CD in here, and there's a CD right here. You really like this one because you have the summer turns briefly to fall and then right into winter. So that move right there is also a CD. That's actually the one that you want. And then now notice how the Bollinger Bands are starting to open up. After that period of compression, they're now starting to expand. That's a hint of a directional move. Then you get all of that move. And then the SSC reversal gives you this move. And then here's the COTA 2 he took. If it doesn't fail through the dragon, you can actually re-enter that here. You wouldn't lose money on it. This is also another COTA 2, but it is kind of late in the day. So good work on identifying those different patterns in Devon. All right, let's go to the market health check. So today, we have a COTA 2 on the long side here in SPY happening. It closed very well and is testing these two RL10 tops. So if that breaks out of today's high, and which is essentially a test of this system, if it gets above, I would say 415 for sure, it's long gone. And 418 and 420 are then in play. So this was actually a pretty favorable resolution to the day, that the buying pressure at the end of the day overcame some of this earlier gap down. That feels like a washout to see who could they pick up some inventory, and then they just kept pushing it higher. On the daily look back, this we're seeing that the PSAR support is still holding strong. The dragon slope is up. The RL10, which has gone summer, fall, had also reversed and started, but that's a very favorable sign. And now if it just can get above 415, then up we go to 420. So that's a very favorable condition. And then no change to the long term, where again we've moved well off the bottom over here. The 5-day is in the top third of the 150-day look back. The 10-day is strong, and we're pushing near the top of the 30-day high as well. So again, if we can get above 418, a new 30-day high, then the next stop is 430. So everything looks pretty solid there. I had a very good 2 hour long podcast with Andrew Barry of Curious Lion. He's a corporate trainer and transformational teacher, and we were talking about organizational learning and in the Peter Senge, the fifth discipline, the learning organization, and we talked our way through this particular model where you start in an organization, you start combining individual curiosity, the human to human social connection, a commitment to continuous learning, and then aligning that with the company mission and connecting that to your individual action. You get this virtual circle. And then between individual curiosity and talking with other humans, you get to experience those shared experiences in story format, leads to continuous learning with the benefit of each other's true stories. Then, when that group becomes aligned under shared assumptions, you support the company mission. And then, if you can share your organizational mission with the things you're interested in, you have a really virtuous circle. And this leads you to the creation of organizational culture. So as soon as he gets that processed, it turned out to be a pretty darn good podcast. It was scheduled for 20 minutes and then ended up going 2 hours because I can't say anything in just 20 minutes. So good times. Let's take a quick look at the market movers today. So again, as usual, the SPY right in the middle at plus 0.3. You had technology and the Russell. So the U.S. growth indexes were strong. So leaders are going to lead. And then the Dow lagged the S&P a little bit, and the emerging markets and treasuries were lagging everything else. So this is a vote to the upside with the U.S. growth indices. I'll just notice that U.S. Steel and Cliff in the metals were the strong areas, whereas Alcoa was lagging. And then Texas Instruments and Intel really defeated NVIDIA. I'm still expecting NVIDIA to do well, and I would think there's some catch-up it has to make. I would expect that was just some profit-taking NVIDIA, and I'm looking for NVIDIA to return to form here pretty soon. This makes it look like a buying opportunity on a dip, and I think other folks following NVIDIA are going to feel the same. And then you can see Devon Energy down almost 10.5% today, while Coinbase up 17%. And now look at the sector: Bitcoin, Ethereum, Arc Innovation, Robinhood, Squarespace. The entire crypto and crypto service complex between 5 and 18%. And that's why I say that's a broad-based move that's looking like crypto is back inside favorable graces for trading. Finally, let's go ahead and jump into the daily report and get set for tomorrow. We'll head on down to dashboard number 1. Bullish quiet is very favorable. That's about as healthy as we've seen it in a long time. A nice recovery today. The risk Z is still giving us risk on in neutral. This is still very favorable for long side swinging. These little signals here are telling us that the previously very strong globals have pulled back on a dip and are ready to get long on both channeling and overreaction. Walmart, Diamonds, JP Morgan leading the way. Close to their 10-day high. I still think there's room in Intel to the upside, and today was the first step back in that direction with it outperforming the broader market. Handful of auto framers still looking pretty good. Strength in Tesla today. The ETFs themselves, again, lots of auto framers, better than 2 to 1. 3 more 551Ws created by the the dip and then the recovery of Asia less Japan. I like real estate in this position. I didn't take it today, but I'm prepared to quietly rotate back into that as a alternative to the growth stories. Energy started giving up a little bit here, and we saw that really punish Devon Energy today, which I expect to be in play tomorrow. Because why not? Um, let's see. The usual suspects here in the auto framer. There's your globals. Real estate is actually looking pretty favorable, 3-1. Was not a harsh sell-off today. Intel looking favorable, 2.7-1. I like Brazil at this location, 2.7-1 also. A handful of squeezes today. I like that McDonald's, our swing trade, is in a squeeze position. And that's the one that really jumps out at me of the ones I'm owning. I'll go right to the sniper. There's only one Godzilla. That's LUMN. I have taken that out of the swing portfolio. It just doesn't have enough volume, and the price is so low that it doesn't get the volume into it. So it's still a stealthy Godzilla, but I'm no longer actively stalking it. I've got my hands full with EA, for example, which is responding already to the Godzilla condition. So I like that one better because it's in play. No Godzillas in the tactical symbol set. On the one-day movers, we have some double good volatilities in here, so I like those by default. Among the most volatiles using the Z5, again, I like Akamai in the tech space is going to be of interest. And there's Devon Energy for us. That 1.81 is after the 10% gap. So it sold off in that little gap, and then from the open to the close, and then from close to close, it was horrible. But just from open to close, or from high to close, that was a 1.81 sigma. So when you add that to the fact that it had that huge gap, that's why Devon Energy is at the top of my list for trading tomorrow. Standard stats for our tactical symbol set. There's still a very healthy spring, so that's some recovery. After a sell-off, the spring is recovering, and all of these in the fall never even went below the zero line. So I think Microsoft is best positioned for the recovery. And Tesla's strength today really is noticeable, as is the weakness in Devon. It got smashed along with Johnson & Johnson. And then in the ETFs, industrials and tech, still feeling pretty good. Blockchain, which is an ETF focused on a basket of crypto, you can see that's a broad-based response to a lot of buying pressure in crypto. So expect to see more movement in those tomorrow. All right, that's everything we got for today. This is the last week to get registered for this next cohort learning in Creativity 202. That is my coaching program. It is transformational. We're going to have an organizational meeting this weekend, and it's a 30-week course which features, an hour to 2-hour check-in each week with your cohort and me and previous graduates. And as I briefed, Andrew Berry this morning, it was more transformational than even I anticipated. It blew all the previous participants away, and so there's still time to get into that course. Um, with the extra access to other specific courseware that I gave the guys last time, I expect to do that again. It's actually a pretty discounted way to get exposure to our material in a very supportive, collaborative learning environment. So don't let 30 weeks scare you away. It's a 1 to 2 hours a week of effort sustained over 30 weeks. You'll find that it transforms the way that you look at trading and 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 creativity. So that's the last I'll say on that one. Take good care, and we shall see you tomorrow.